Now let's move on to the fourth one here. The fourth key proposal in Project 2025, and I'm curious to see what Chris says on this one. So the Office of Human Resources and Administration reforms. All right, so that the Human Resources and Administration reforms is going to be, it's the HRA, okay, HRA. The HRA reforms include rescinding Biden administration delegations of authority, reevaluating hybrid and remote work policies. That one's very curious to me. Expediting a new HRIT system and enhancing recruitment of veterans and military spouses. Additionally, the plan suggests sunsetting the Office of Accountability and Whistleblower Protection and decoupling HRA from the Office of Security and Preparedness to streamline operations. Chris, what are your thoughts on this, especially with your background? I'd love to. Obviously, you're getting a small snippet, so I mean, I'm not expecting the whole heck of a lot, but just on its kind of face, just kind of, how do you feel with this?
Yeah, look, I think that I applaud part of it, and I have concerns on the rest of it. The parts that I applaud are, the recruitment of veterans and military spouses. The part that, is hard to believe that, maybe this is all part of the whole Oracle debacle. It's hard to believe that they don't have an HRIT system that is fully functioning right now. If not, then just fix it. You gotta have that as a foundation, unless you're just wasting so many hours of work and frustration and engagement to actually, for the people who are trying to help the veterans, that you just need to fix it. For the other side, I mean, decoupling from the Office of Security and Preparedness seems commonsensical. What I don't understand is why. What were the first principles of coupling them in the first place? But not really knowing a whole lot about the inner workings of the HRA and these delegations of authority. It just seems like many times they make things more complex in an attempt to try to make things simple. And an honest review of all of this stuff, an honest, look at, or is recruiting better, is employee engagement, and most important, employee productivity better when you have at least flexible hybrid work situations. But the reality is that they should look for the best talent available to them within reasonable parameters, as all other companies, and because work can be done from home. Now, maybe that's why they coupled this whole security. Maybe they're worried about network security and data security, and so maybe because of the amount of information they have and the type of information, it makes sense to do work out of a controlled space. So again, it comes back to first principles and back to what they're trying to solve for, and then all of the strategic decisions on how you organize and how you separate work and whether you allow people to work from home or not should come after the strategy is in place. That was a whole lot of HR gobbledygook, wasn't it?
That's beautiful gobbledygook. I loved it. Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, I can understand it. If they're on the, benefit side or on the Veterans Health side or something like that, and they're working with HIPAA sensitive records and they've got it at home, that can be problematic. So if they're reevaluating the, hybrid versus remote work policies because they're genuinely concerned about data and information technology security, seems reasonable to me. If they're doing it because, they want to force people back in the office because they think that's going to make things better and more productive, I think they've been smoking something, because that is not what the data that I've seen shows. When you just unilaterally mandate, hey, you got to come back and things will be better. That's I have not seen anything that supports that from a productivity perspective, where it's binary, mandated. Do this or get out kind of thing. The piece about expediting a new HRIT system, I have to go back to my old CFO days. I remember the enticement of wanting to upgrade our financial systems, and if we do this, we're going to have, everything's going to be easier and better. And we go through these. I went through several of them in my career. These full-blown ERP upgrades, and the promised land is always very, very far away with data. Once you upgrade a system, it always takes longer. There is always more data loss. It is always more of a learning curve than you expect, and it takes longer. And then what happens is consultants show up, and consultants like to bill a lot of money, and they show up and they have got great ideas and they try to fix things that lead to more problems, and then they show up even more. And so I'm a little skeptical of this, because I've seen this movie before with systems upgrades. Yeah, systems eventually need to be upgraded, but pick one and just upgrade with it as it releases new versions. So hopefully they think through that. I like the fact that they're, proposing to recruit more military members and spouses. Great. I think that that's a reasonable thing to do. Anytime you get rid of getting rid of a whistleblower at, protection sort of place, is that really a good idea? If we didn't have whistleblower protections in place, would the whole scandal of 2014 that, the administration at the time tried very, very hard to minimize, mitigate, make go away, not end up in the headlines, would that have ever ended up in the headlines if we didn't have whistleblower protections? These people probably would have been fired and run out of the country. So I'm a little bit apprehensive about that. And I don't know why they're coupled up with the Office of Security and Preparedness. Maybe it is, a data security thing. I don't really have an opinion on that, but I think there's some good and bad in there.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that, really kind of piqued my interest was the reevaluating the hybrid and remote work, right? And it's just to your guys' points. I'm a big fan of hybrid. Remote work, okay, but I think that you do have to be in the office personally sometimes, just to have that, who your coworkers are, the people that you rely on and talk to, and to build that kind of, a loose camaraderie almost. I think the face-to-face aspect is important, and I think that some people, they'll just never leave their house, man. There's people out there that just, they live in a virtual world just all day long, and then they do virtual things in their free time, and then they just order DoorDash and hang out at home. And it's good to get out of the house every once in a while, Chris.
Yeah,
come on, Chris.
It is, but think about all the customer call centers that the VA has. Are you going to bring all of them in house? That's just as much of a risk in terms of information access than somebody sitting in a human resources office.
Well,
right?
I'll tell you this. Here's my thing on this, and it depends on the department, the job, the unit. Okay. There's cross learning that happens when you hear other people deal with situations, and you also have somebody that you could reach out to and touch in real time and be like, hey, how should I handle this? Or how did you get across that? And you lose that when you're sitting at home behind a computer, I think. So,
yeah, I'll tell you, Chris and I were talking about this for a minute before we started streaming. We were talking about hiring, and I tend to lean on the virtual side of things because we can hire talent from anywhere in the United States, or really anywhere in the world, but anywhere in the US at least, and we don't have to uproot them. We don't have to move them. We can take our cream of the crop, and as long as they can handle working in a virtual environment, to your point, Jason, some people benefit from in person a little bit more, but if they can handle it, the nice thing is they can be anywhere, and they don't have to alter their lives. And the whole purpose of work is so we can enjoy what we do outside of work and not live in the matrix, like the example that you just threw out.
There's pros and cons, I guess, at the end of the day, right? And whatever. Maybe there are those options, but I'm not saying have somebody come into the offices at 4 states away or something like that, But then again, you have to have the office space. You have to provide all that. There's a cost savings if you have everybody working from home, which was a big deal back in COVID. You started realizing, wow, well, if I have them just stay at home, then we could close down 3/4 of our buildings and actually
unfortunately,
generate
the feds
income.
already own all those buildings.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
Right.
true. We could turn off all the lights and the AC systems. Oh,
Yeah.
no. All right. So, all right. So let's move on here and get to concerns and considerations as written by Fulcrum, and see what they say. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to try to just read through it as fast as I can, and then just get some thoughts from each of us, and then we'll move on. How's that sound? Good?
Yeah,
All
we
right.
maybe hit the highlights. We're about at time anyway, so
Yeah.
the highlights and
I don't know the highlights. I got to find them. So anyway, we'll just go through it fast. All right, concerns and considerations. One of the primary goals of Project 2025 VA reforms is to outsource many core healthcare services to private companies. This includes outsourcing exams for evaluating claims, adjudicating claims automatically with private tech companies, and facilitating care through private healthcare providers. While some conservative groups like the Concerned Veterans for America support expanding veteran access to private care and cite polling that indicates wide support for the plan, this polling seems to directly contradict years of surveys of veterans who use VHA, the Veterans Healthcare Administration. For the quarter ending March 2024, 80.4% of veterans expressed trust in the VA, with 91.8% specifically trusting VA health services. Why the disconnect? Here's my question, guys. Okay, I know you guys love surveys like I do. If you surveyed everybody who went to the VA healthcare facility in the last 30 days and said, do you trust the healthcare facility, whatever your questions are, you're going to get a lot more yeses. It's great, because they're actually going there. How about if you polled every disabled veteran, regardless of if they went to the VHA or not, right? So everybody who could qualify for veterans health care services, what would the numbers look like then? So I don't know. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts real quick on that world of surveys and throwing that out there?
Randy doesn't trust him. Randy doesn't believe in him. That's Randy's thought.
Good.
Chris likes how Randy talks in the third person, but
Nice.
yeah, if constructed properly, I mean, it's a science, but again, these things it's just like a employee engagement survey. You just hope you catch your employees on the right day, not the day that they're at the peak, not the day that they're at the low, but the right day where they can look at things contextually and have an honest opinion of how things stand. If they tried to get an appointment over the last 30 days and couldn't, or something, that bad experience happened, yes, it's a bad experience on that one experience, but they might have really great experiences in totality, but their answer is going to be strictly influenced by the most recent experience. And so I think it's an input, but there should be lots of other inputs, lots of other metrics being considered, like the ones we talked about earlier today. And how many people are actually looking for these services for us to even make it that big of a deal, to make sure that we aren't compromising resources that should be focused on more, important to the veterans right now types of issues. And so I get managing at scale is very difficult, and managing at scale with all the political influences that the VA has is even more difficult. But I just wish and hope that, logic and reason can come into play.
Yeah.
When this transition happens.
Yep. Absolutely. So let's move on through the end of this article and we'll wrap it up. So without a doubt, there are veterans who have negative experiences with their VA administered care. And those veterans need to be heard and have their concerns addressed. However, privately administered health care in the U.S. is already overburdened, and it doesn't seem logical to move veterans into the private system, risking the real net positive results most veterans experience through the VHA. A recent audit by the VA Office of Inspector General concurred and highlighted concerns that increased spending on community care could erode the VA direct care system and limit choice for veterans who prefer VA services. It warned that deviating or diverting funds from the VA to private care could reduce the quality of direct care. Look, the bottom line is if you don't use it, you're going to lose it, right? So if you open up the ability to go outside of the VA, and everybody does, well, then there's no need for the VA, right? So we can't have our cake and eat it too. So this is a really interesting situation that we're kind of finding ourselves in right now. There's two little paragraphs left. I'll wrap these up and then pass it around. So to be clear, this is on the Fulcrum article here. And moving on in this article, it states, to be clear, under the Biden administration, the VA has continued the trend of privatization that began under Obama, grew and was codified by the Mission Act in 2018 under Trump. The Project 2025 report on the VA hints at this when offering rare praise that the Biden appointees have adopted some of their predecessors' governance processes. Ensuring that changes truly benefit veterans should be the priority for the current administration as well as future administrations looking to improve the VA, which is echoing the words that we've said here. Project 2025 focuses on conservative political goals and extensive outsourcing, risking politicizing the VA further and undermining its ability to serve veterans efficiently or effectively. I'm making up words. Given the high trust and satisfaction among veterans with current VA services, nonpartisan support for veteran-centric benefits, and research indicating the importance of retaining the private model of care, it is crucial to approach these reforms cautiously. And that's how it ends. So let's pass the baton around. Randy, let's go with you first. Give us your thoughts on the conclusion here.
Good article. Appreciate information. Anytime we get new information out there, we want to share it with our viewers. So I think it's a good article. Look, we did a long episode today. We covered a lot of ground. I don't really have anything to add. Yeah, if there's a political current behind something, approaching it cautiously and with the veteran and veteran's family in mind, it is the right way to handle it. That's all I got. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, look, I just get concerned about, student body left, student body right, student body left, student body right. When so much of it can, progress can be made by just understanding how to stay steady and in the middle. And so hopefully there isn't a ton of back and forth. This was very helpful because honestly, I haven't spent a whole lot of time, although you hear it in the media all the time, Project 2025, Project 2025. I mean, it's hard to believe anything that the media actually throws at you anymore in terms of relative value. So having a chance to talk some of this stuff out and learn a little bit more about it inspires me to go learn even more about it, especially on how it's going to impact the veterans and the folks that we serve. So there's probably a lot more to come in future episodes. And then if there's specific things that you've learned about it, go ahead and send it in the comments, and maybe it's something we could pick up and go deeper on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. And again, this was from the Fulcrum by Christina Becvar, I think is how you say her last name. It just came out July 5th. And we wanted to share it with you here today. So thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.